Thank you for pressing start on this bonus episode of Underplayed, KZUM's indie video game podcast. Today, we talk about many of the indie games from PAX East 2025. Here on Underplayed, we review indie games of all kinds, the games with small budgets but big hearts, the lesser-known experiences with imaginative ideas. I'm Bo Po, but it's not only me. There's a guy with a flow who's on a journey. So won't you put your hands together, please, for the Zeo Drifter, the indie game sifter, the curse-cracking Mr. DiscoCola! What is going on?
Not too much, man. I didn't even think of a rhyme, though I suppose I could have, or a reference to PAX. You know, there's something there with like packing things away, but I didn't do it. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. I also didn't think of a rhyme for you or any kind of reference to PAX, but yes, we're here with this bonus episode of Underplayed. We are here in mid to late May 2025. I am couple weeks back from PAX East 2025, and this was my first gaming convention, I think, ever.
Yeah,
it was like really cool. So I got to go to this year, met a lot of really cool friends, and just wanted to take this opportunity to share about the experience. And I know that you, at home base, were able to play a couple of the games. Demos on Steam. So you have some experience with a lot of the games that were on the expo hall floor. So we're going to talk about a lot of the indie games that were present at PAX East 2025. It's not going to be every single indie game. It's hard to play everything there because there's a lot of people. You have to wait in line to play demos. There's only so much time, which makes the opportunity to sit down with a demo that much more special. Sometimes you're sitting down and you're just going like, I'm spending a good 10, 15, 20 minutes with this game just in this moment in one of my several days here. That's like kind of nice. So we're going to go through, we're going to talk about the different booths I went to. I got some interviews with publishers,
hackers,
and developers, and I'm really excited to share. So we're going to move on to talking about all things PAX East. But before we do that, if you're listening to Underplayed right now, thank you so much. There are a couple of very easy and free ways to support us if you want. You can give us a follow and a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you give us a follow on your podcast platform of choice, that will ensure that we stay in your feed. And the next time we have a new episode, it'll be right there. And also, if you have a friend who likes indie games, please feel free to share our podcast with them too. So it's time to move on to our PAX episode outline. So one of the booths I went to was SoftSource. And SoftSource is super impressive because they had 6 games on display.
Nice.
They are based in Singapore, and they have a variety of games. You'll hear about this in our interview with Natalyn, the community manager for SoftSource. We're going to hear about a lot of the games that they're working on publishing.
I'm here with Nat from SoftSource here at the booth at PAX East. How are you doing, Nat?
I'm doing good. Just a bit tired, but I'm good. I'm still going strong.
Yeah, you've had a long day here.
Yeah.
What has the booth experience been like with people coming by to play games published by SoftSource?
It's been really great, actually. People here are so supportive and they're so open to like talking about games in general, getting feedback from the gamers and everything. We don't see that a lot in Asia. I'm not sure if I should say that on the microphone, but in America, people here are so open to talking about games and everything, and everyone's just been really friendly and nice and everything. So it's been pretty good so far.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations. Can you talk about the SoftSource team and how it's made up? Who's on the SoftSource team?
So we have me. I'm the PR and community manager. So I handle the PR stuff, the social media, the marketing stuff. And then we have 2 QA specialists who do the QA, who do the hard work, while I sit down and do nothing. And then we have basically the lead of our team. He's our licensing manager, but he also tells us what to do, basically. Yeah, we're all based in Singapore.
Okay, all based in Singapore. Great. And can you talk about the games that you have showcased here at the SoftSource booth?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I'll go alphabetically if that's easier.
That works, yeah.
Because we have quite a lot. We have 6 games here at the booth. So maybe I'll start with As I Begin to Dream. It's a puzzle game. It's about a little girl who has to navigate kind of like a mysterious dream world. And she has a very strange power where she can actually manipulate the environment around her. So it kind of takes the puzzle platforming aspect of like platforming and makes it into like a kind of you control how you progress through the environment kind of thing instead of like for example climbing a cliff or a tree. You make the tree climb to you, you know? Yeah, you make the world easier for you to navigate. So I think that's a really interesting mechanic that it has.
And this is one of the games that was recently in Next Fest.
Yes, it was in Steam Next Fest. We got a lot of good feedback. We got a lot of love for the game. We saw a lot of streamers play it, and we're so happy because it's from Indonesia. The developer is Stray Flux, and it's actually their first game. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so it's actually their first game. So they put a lot of love and effort into it, and I really love the game. It's such a good game. The art is beautiful. It's all hand drawn and everything. So
I love a puzzle platformer. This is one of the ones I played during Next Fest.
yeah, it's really good.
It's great.
Yeah. So maybe I can go to Bahamut and the Waqwaq tree.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is a Arabian puzzle game. It actually released today on 8 May on Steam with consoles coming later in the year. So I don't know if you play Aquaria, if anyone here has played Aquaria, but it's kind of like that, minus the combat and everything. It's very much a puzzle game. It's stunning, it's beautiful. It tells kind of like a very lesser told tale of like Arabian mythology. We don't see that a lot in gaming sphere, in the gaming media, or just media in general. It's been very underrepresented. So I think that's a really important thing that both the developers and us wanted to really emphasize upon, is that it really gives a very sincere interpretation of Arabian mythology. Yeah. And then we can move on to Bloodbreaker. So we recently announced this actually, last week actually, and it has gotten a lot of love, especially in Japan, which we are so happy about. I think it's the art style combined with like the gothic themes that really makes it do stand out well. And it's a gothic Metroidvania roguelike. I think the term is roguevania. I'm not sure if that's commonly used, but one of the main inspirations was Castlevania, if you couldn't tell.
Yes, I could tell
Yeah.
right away. Yeah, I'm drawn to it because I love a Metroidvania and I love Castlevania.
Yeah, the art style is really beautiful. The characters are really beautifully drawn. The environment is very gothic. It's dark. It's sad. Why are you playing this game? You're so sad.
I play a lot of sad games, so I'm just drawn to that. Love it.
But it's a Metroidvania. You know, you're gonna die a lot of times. You're gonna get eaten a lot of times. You're gonna be sad. You're gonna rage. But it's a Metroidvania. It's your job to be sad and rage quit. So it's a beautiful game. I love it. You know. Okay, next one. Kajora. Yes, I think you played this too.
I did play Kajora. I played both As I Began to Dream and Kajora during Next Fest.
So yeah, recently also in Steam Next Fest, the art style is also hand drawn. Indonesians love drawing their own art, we love to see it.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people love the art. It's been likened to like Studio Gilby, and it's like Studio Gilby but Southeast Asian, because it's set in a Southeast Asian village, and the story and the characters and everything, the mannerisms, the dialogue is all very Southeast Asian. So the story is basically you're trapped in a time loop, and then you just have to break the time loop. But because of that, you have to kind of navigate a lot of like monsters, a lot of creatures, you know, typical day in a ghost life, right? Yeah, so that's Kajora for you. Beautiful game coming out soon, hopefully.
Yep, hopefully. Cool.
Midnight Dreams, yes. So this is another really stunning game. So this is a 3D horror game. Think of it like Little Nightmares, dark, you know, that kind of thing.
That kind of looks like me, I think.
Yeah, that's you.
I have a backpack and I'm in what looks like kind of a scary bedroom.
Yeah. So the protagonist is a child. So if you want to look at yourself as a child, that's fine with me.
Well, I was once a child, so I can kind of relate.
Yeah, so the protagonist is a child. And the interesting thing is that he's diagnosed with autism. So one of the main things the developer really wanted to do is kind of educate audiences on like autism spectrum disorder. Not say that isn't much education or information about the topic, but in a form that's very immersive, because gaming is the most immersive form of media ever. So in that way, to kind of like show audiences how maybe the world appears in the mind of an 8-year-old boy who has autism. I think that's really interesting. And of course, he's stuck in nightmare world because kids don't go through enough every day. So that's one thing I don't like horror games, so I don't play Midnight Dreams.
But it shows the variety that you have here.
Yeah.
So in a lot of these games, and pretty much all of them, you're showcasing a different kind of gameplay style or a different perspective, maybe a different kind of art style.
Yeah.
What does it mean to Soft Source to be able to represent all these kinds of art and all these different kinds of stories?
Yeah. We really don't like to kind of specialize in a specific genre or art style. Not say there's any problem with that, but I think there's so many cool games out there, and if you look at your own favorite games, you can't say there's a distinct style or genre that you like. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, but most likely game A that you like is not exactly like game B that you like in terms of art style, direction, genre. So I think it's very important to like kind of represent those different genres. We have so many different genres here. We have horror, we have puzzle, adventure, Metroidvania, roguelike games also. And I think what we really want to do is cater to gamers of all types. We want to cater to the cozy gamers with As I Begin to Dream and Kajora. We want to cater to the horror lovers with Midnight Dreams and Fractured Shimmer. And then we want to cater to the nerds who love Metroidvanias with Bloodbreaker. So that's one important thing. And art style is really important to us. We love stylized art, and all our games have really distinct art styles, and we love that about our games. And no, there's no one better art style. So all art styles are valid, and all art styles are beautiful in their own way. So that's one thing we really enjoy.
I love that. I love that so much. Well, Nat, thank you so much for your time, and congratulations on such a beautiful booth and the variety of games you're working on.
Thank you. Thank you for coming down and checking us out.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of your PAX East.
So I'm just very inspired by how much they're looking to represent so much art, so many different voices. They're working with all kinds of developers from around the world. And we've got games that I think really speak to you. I mean, I
already got some tabs open. So.
I know.
Yeah, I added some stuff to a wish list.
There are survival horror games they're working on. There's the Fractured Shimmer, which I don't think Nat got to talk about as much, but I'll go through the games in alphabetical order again. It was As I Began to Dream, Bahamut and the Waqwaq Tree, Bloodbreaker, Labyrinth of the Witch, the Fractured Shimmer, Kajora, and Midnight Dreams. Yeah, the Fractured Shimmer and Midnight Dreams being more horror-based, Bloodbreaker being a Metroidvania that might be down your alley. And then I got to play As I Began to Dream and Kajora during Next Fest. I also was very kindly given a key to Bahamut and the Waqwaq Tree by Natalyn ahead of PAX East, and I got a chance to play through the whole game on stream in the days after I returned. So I'm going to do a mini review of Bahamut and the Waqwaq Tree. This is a game that, like Natalyn said, is inspired by Arabian mythology. And so you see all of these very magical creatures. You play as this being that is born from the eponymous Waqwaq Tree in the middle of the Mayan Ocean. And the Mayan Ocean is where all of life is created through this balance between Bahamut, the spirit of light, and Phalek, the spirit of dark. They have a falling out, and you are supposed to restore balance and find Bahamut in this big sort of ocean setting. It's a beautiful game. It is 2D. You're swimming everywhere, which might not sound appealing to people who don't like swimming sections in platforming games, for instance. But I found this game to be just lovely and beautiful. It is an adventure game mixed with puzzle solving here and there. I'd say a lot of the puzzle solving comes down to finding your way. It's atmospheric. I found this to just be super artful. It is a short game too. I think I finished it in about 3.5 hours
so you
or
did
something like
finish
that.
it? Okay.
I did, yes. So it's a nice short game with a very like simple, easy story to follow that will give you some insight into Arabian mythology.
We love a short game.
We do. Yes, we do. So had an awesome time talking with Natalyn at Soft Source. So thank you so much, Nat, for your time. Disco, there's another booth called Bite Rockers Games that was on the show floor, and they had a couple of games that were from BTF, and they are working on two very different games right now, Constance and the Berlin Apartment. And I understand you had a chance to play the Constance demo.
Yeah, I did. I remember I saw Constance in some showcase somewhere quite a while back and was drawn to it. I think I even have like a Google Doc somewhere where I was just like maybe donating plasma at the time, and I was just like typing with one hand all the games that looked cool, and that was one of them. But yeah, I got to try it out, and I would say that the controls feel really great, as you would hope that they would. I like the art style quite a lot. And I had a lot of fun with not as much like the combat, but like the platforming challenges. I think the platforming challenges that I encountered were really creative and intelligently designed, and just were like, I got to the point where some of them were frustrating too, where not because they were like impossible, but because they were just like high skill ceiling, but still doable, you know?
Yeah, this was a hard demo, I think.
Yeah.
I only played up to the point where you beat a boss, but I died so many times trying to beat that boss.
Yeah, I don't think I got to a boss that was like difficult, but I was like finding all these alternate paths, and I don't know if I was on the correct path for a while there. They have a lot blocked off, so you can't get too far. But yeah, I was just finding like every room I got to, there were like 2 paths to take, and so I would I would just kind of like, I think I know which one's the right one, but I'm gonna try this one, and I ended up way up in the northwest somewhere before I was just like, okay, I understand, and it feels great, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't like to compare games to other games. I think each game is its own entity, but I think there is an undeniable comparison or influence from Hollow Knight, given all of the like saw blades and stuff that you encounter.
Yeah, it's a Metroidvania with a very similar art style. Maybe not as dark as Hollow Knight's.
Yeah.
It's got this artful side to it. It's you wield a paintbrush. You're swinging a paintbrush. That's how you're getting a lot of your powers. And I think there's some mental health topics explored here. So it's kind of reminding me of Celeste in a way too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also from BTF, we have the Berlin Apartment. I don't know if you've had a chance to look into this one, but this is one of those demos that I played after the fest.
Yeah, I've got the Steam page open right now.
What does the pitch say on the Steam page for this?
One apartment, many stories. Witness turning points in the lives of the inhabitants of an apartment in Berlin over the course of a whole century. And that description even sort of cements the like one game I'm thinking of the most, which is Gorogoa. Now, I don't think that this is going to be like a puzzle game like Gorogoa was, but you see the art style is kind of similar, and you see different points in time. And so I think that's interesting. It might be the parts of Gorogoa that I liked the most.
That's a very interesting comparison. Yeah, I played the demo in its entirety, and we got to see a few of the time periods that are hinted at there in the Steam storefront description. So this takes place, I think in its earliest in the demo, we're in the 1930s, and then it goes all the way, I think the game will go all the way into the year 2020 during the pandemic. So in the course of this game, we'll see the rise of the Nazi Party in the early years. We'll see a lot of the Cold War stuff somewhere in the middle, and then we'll get to more modern times. And I think how this is framed, according to the store page, it says, quote, "A handyman is tasked with refurbishing an old apartment in the city of Berlin, Germany. In the course of his extensive renovation work, he digs deeper and deeper into the history of the apartment," end quote. So he's finding items, I think, these mementos, these objects that tell the story of the people who have lived in the apartment, and we get to live their lives, or at least a part of their lives, through their gaze. It's in the first person, and in every single time period, you're going to be doing different things. You might be folding an airplane and throwing it out the window, watering plants. You might be examining photography equipment. You might be reading letters from people that you know. You might be answering phone calls from people waiting for you down in the street in their car. So I'm very interested to see how all of this weaves together. Right now, the demo is a montage of sorts. I don't know if that's how the full game will end up being, but I'm super interested in the Berlin apartment. And this is one that you and a couple of our friends have earmarked as being a quote Bopo game before. So I'm just so looking forward to this. It's just my jam. It's also giving, I don't know if you heard about the new Robert Zemeckis film Here, starring Tom Hanks. It's a movie that's set in the same living room, and it's got the same like locked down shot for the whole film. And it takes place over many years from before the house was built to more modern times. And you just see a place from a still perspective. It's kind of giving me those vibes too. So yeah, that's one I'm really looking forward to. I talked a little bit about SoftSource and how many games they're publishing just with one publisher. There's another sort of collective that I find really inspirational, and that was the Boston Indie Game Developers. This is a collective of developers in the local Boston area who have pooled together their resources, and they've gotten a booth together, and they're just showing off not only their individual games, but how cool their collective is in the city. And so I got to interview Matt Cortright, who is at Winter Camp Studio and is working on a game called The Midnight Exorcist, just one of several games you were able to find if you were lucky enough to stumble across their booth at PAX East 2025. So here is the interview with Matt from the Boston Indie Game Developers Group.
I am at the local Boston Indie Game Developers booth. Did I get that name right?
That's correct. Yeah, Boston Indie Game Developers. We're a recently formed collective of local indie devs, all with a strong connection to the Boston area. We have a couple of games on view here at PAX. And what are your questions? How can I help?
Thank you so much for your time. Your name's Matt. Can you talk to me about your team and your game?
Absolutely. My name's Matt Cortright. I'm the lead artist at Winter Camp Studio, and we are here with our debut title, Midnight Exorcist, which is an investigative, spooky horror puzzle game set in a haunted art museum.
I love that premise so much. I'm watching the gameplay right now of someone else playing, and it makes me want to just jump in line and play it. Can you tell me a little bit about the other games here?
Yes, so there are 4 playable demos that are here. In addition to our title, you have Unsent, which is a kind of kooky puzzle platformer game with a lot of vibes taken from Psychonauts. You play as a recently hired postal worker working for the Unsentiment department, and your job is, I don't want to give too much away, but basically you're going to help a lot of letters that never found their recipients find their way. The basic premise of the game from a sort of a narrative standpoint is that this you are in the regulatory realm, where a lot of kind of human superstitions and taboos have accreted and formed themselves into a sort of a bureaucratic state, and you're a cog in that machine, just trying to make your way and do the best you can. Then also we have Sincerely Robin, which is by 50 Birds in a Trench Coat. It's a D&D simulation where you play as the Robin who has inherited their grandfather's B&B and is going to try to do their best to revitalize the business and serve their community. You flit around to your neighbors, make them food, and hear their stories. Lastly, Ghost Jukebox is a cozy rhythm game where you play as a ghost music therapist, and your job is to serve as a therapist who's going to help the spirits of the recently deceased to find their place in the afterlife. It's a rhythm game where you're kind of trying to identify the kinds of music that's going to help each individual client to figure out how best that they're going to navigate this transition and figure out how to move in this new space.
Very nice, very nice. What I love about this booth is you can go to each of the games here, and it almost feels like you're going to a different exhibitor, but you're all a collective. How did you find each other? How did all these teams like come together initially?
Well, the Boston indie community is actually a really strongly developed space. So there's a lot of pre-existing relationships here that are formed out of like the academic community. Some of our games, we have a lot of students and alumni from, for instance, Clark University, which is really close by, Worcester Polytechnic also. So that kind of existing academic community in the Boston area is definitely a big part of why we're all together here. But it's also just like with an event like PAX, developers like us absolutely want to be participating, and it's just a question of trying to figure out how do we gather the resources necessary and like do it in a way that feels like it's appropriately scaled to projects that of our size with our resources. And for my money, quite literally, the best way to do that is as a collective. You know, how can we pool our resources? We only need so much space. We're not a AAA studio. We're not even a AA studio. We're small, but how can we use that, team up with other studios, and just make sure that we can do the important part, which is get our product in front of the audience and see what they think about it.
Nice. I love how you're boosting each other up. When you do that, you allow maybe greater success across the board. When you're not at an event like PAX, how do you support each other? How do you talk to each other? How do you create community?
You know, we use the tools that we have available to us. I think that my team is largely remote, and so we've got used to having Discord be kind of our nerve center, and I think that that's true for this group as well. You know, we're always exchanging information. It's kind of the beauty of having access to really scalable asynchronous communication is you can just be constantly making those connections between individuals, between groups of people. The systems are in place at this point for a really rich cross-pollination of different ideas, and that can be inside of the development space as far as like the kinds of products that we're trying to build, the kinds of experiences that we're trying to give to our audience, but also the how to go about solving the logistical problems that studios like us face in terms of how to get our product out there, how to do events like PAX. Yeah, that's how we do it.
That's really awesome. Is there anything else you want to share about the collective or this booth?
Oh gosh, we're really hopeful that we can come back to PAX again next year, make this happen. This is the first time that this collective has been able to take advantage of an opportunity like this, and you know we've learned so much. It's been an absolute blast getting to show our game to so many people who are so passionate about this kind of product. It's been so wonderful just to be able to see people. When you're a small developer, it's harder to get your product in front of people that you don't know. A lot of stuff is word of mouth. So when you have an opportunity like this where you can be standing here on the floor at PAX, somebody walks up, you've never met them before, and you see them and they just kind of look over somebody else's shoulder and they go, huh, what's that? And the seat opens up and they go down and they sit down, they put the headphones on and they just dive into your game. And you can see them starting to nod their head and be like, okay, this is cool. Nothing beats that feeling. It's just amazing. And we are addicted to it, and we are definitely coming back.
Awesome. Well, I love that for you all. And this is a great reminder for anybody planning to go to PAX East in 2026. Look out for the local Boston indie game developers. Matt, thank you so much for your time.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
So what I love about that is just seeing all of these locals come together and make something arguably greater than if any of them were trying to tough it out on their own.
Yeah, I mean, probably not a shocker to anybody listening that, you know, the public radio indie game podcast is like super into the idea of collectivism.
Yeah.
Like, shocker.
No, it reminded me of KZUM.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, and just like, do you remember when we had Jack on for the Donut County episode?
Oh, yeah.
And he started talking about like crickets or whatever.
Yeah.
And their collective, he had a word for it, collective synchrony something.
Yeah.
But basically like everybody benefited a little bit better by working together instead
yes,
of
even though they're competitive in a way, like they're all battling for audience's time. Every person who plays an indie game only has so much time to play indie games, so nobody can play every indie game. So in a way, you could look at it as, oh, they have something to kind of compete for, but working together, they really showcase what's special about what they're each creating. And these 4 games presents, which again are Unsent, The Midnight Exorcist, Sincerely Robin, and Ghost Jukebox, they just all are different and could appeal to a wide variety of people. I liked how they handed out these really cool postcards at the booth too. So I got postcards for the Midnight Exorcist, Unsent, and Sincerely Robin. I did get to sit down and play Sincerely Robin first before I talked to Matt. And this was the B&B game where you're running around grabbing ingredients to make smoothies and things. You're a bird and you're going around and helping people out. Just super wholesome, super nice. It felt great to flap around and fly around this environment. Then I talked to Matt, and at these events, these exhibitors talk all day long. And what I loved about Matt is he came up and started talking to me, and he's eating ice cream because he's trying to eat something really cold to relax his throat.
It's like it's ice cream with a purpose.
It is.
Instead of just for the love of the game.
It is. So we all love ice cream, but then sometimes you also need something cold to relax the vocal cords, right? And I was like, yeah, would you mind being interviewed for a bit? And he was like, yeah, let me just finish this. And then he told me about all the games. He's working on the Midnight Exorcist. I got a chance to then sit down and play Unsent, which is the 3D platformer he talked about. And Unsent was super fun. I got to talk to the game's producer, Alex, as I was waiting for the game. And we were talking shop about 3D platformers. We were talking about the comparison of Unsent to Psychonauts, which I had played before, and Alex was super familiar with. But then I was asking him if he knew about Yooka-Laylee, because I was getting Yooka-Laylee vibes from Unsent. He hadn't heard of it. He also hadn't heard of Cavern of Dreams. So we were giving suggestions back and forth of 3D platformers to play.
You got to advocate for Smushy, too. I feel
some
Smushy love here.
Definitely. Yeah. I didn't mention that one. There are just so many. And we just talked about how it seems like we've entered a renaissance for 3D platformers, which I'm super thankful for. Unsent was so fun. It was very much like Psychonauts. You're collecting, I think there were stamps hidden everywhere, and I was trying to find the more hidden ones. Once you find a certain amount, you can go different places. And there's a tripwire in the demo where once you get to a certain point, it just ends, and I got there. It feels really good. The music is awesome in this game. It's funky. It's one of those songs that plays over and over, so you might think it would get kind of tiring, but I did not mind listening to the really cool soundscape of Unsent.
Cool.
So again, thank you to Matt from the Boston Indie Game Developers booth. I'm excited to see what they have on display next year.
Man, I would love to have the job that the guy in Unsent has. Like, you get to take all this mail that never got to its home, which, like, what a noble task in the first place. But you also get to sort of like be an investigator. Like, if someone's moved, you get to start like investigating. Okay, where did this person go? Sounds a little fun to me. If I ever retired, LOL, I would love to have that job.
You know what? I kind of want you to play this one. I think you will really like it.
I'll try to give it a shot. It's on the wish list now.
Sweet. At the Toge booth, I got to play the demo for a game called Compensation Not Guaranteed. I have a little business card there.
We know Toge.
And you should be really interested in Compensation Not Guaranteed, because this is basically Papers, Please with an even greater potential for showing empathy, I think, or showing cruelty. This is a game that is very clearly inspired by Papers, Please, which we reviewed this past season. The Steam page says, peek into Southeast Asian politics through a lens darkly. Check ownership for authenticity. Listen to stories. Decide who should give up their land in the name of progress. So in Compensation Not Guaranteed, there's this country emerging. And as people are giving up their land and their property to the government. You are working for the government, trying to determine whether they should be compensated for what they are giving up. So you're talking to lots of people who have varying degrees of interpersonal conflicts. You understand some factions that are emerging. You also just understand people's personal struggles. And you're actually evaluating their documents. You're doing the papers, please thing of looking at their ID card and a certificate and seeing if their information matches. But you're given the freedom to deny or approve them for compensation. And I think this is a little bit deeper than papers, please, where you can have longer conversations. You know, in papers, please, people would approach the window and they'd have just a little back and forth with you. They might shout something at you if you deny them, but that's it. Here, it's almost like an interview that you're having in a way. Part of the process is looking at the documents. Part of it, too, is having this dialogue and understanding their story. And I think from that, your own interpretation, your own feelings come into it a little bit more. This has a really interesting art style. It has animal characters that are just very expressive. And I think dreams play a part in this too. It seems like after every day, you have the opportunity to maybe dream about what's going on. So there's an abstract side of what's going on too. I played this so long. I made the person behind me in line wait so long to play this game, and I felt so
You're
bad.
such a jerk.
I am, but I was so drawn into this. So yeah, this is the one game from the Toge booth that I got to play, and I'm very thankful that I did. I also got to meet a Toge community super fan named Rashad, who was volunteering at the booth. I guess Rashad is really super active in their Discord and was really excited to talk to me as someone who loves indie games. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to Rashad, who also is working on a game of their own. I don't know what the game is. I think it was a little too early to learn those details, but we wish Rashad the best.
And just to like throw this out there, we have played a few Toge production games for the podcast. So you'll remember, if you're a longtime listener, Space for the Unbound was one of our featured games. And When the Past Was Around was a secret game a few seasons ago.
Yeah. Rashad asked if I had played Coffee Talk. I said no, but I have played A Space for the Unbound. I talked about how that's one of my favorite narrative indie games, and I got some indie cred points
there you
for
go.
that one. Yeah.
These guys, they just don't believe it until we talk the talk. I was like, see, we're not playing around.
So next, I want to talk about GIGASWORD. This is one that I think you will really like. This is one I played after the convention.
Yeah, Cater Blossom, our friend Cater Blossom, sent me like 6 demos or something that she was like, you're going to love these ones. And GIGASWORD was one of them. And I can tell you a little bit. She went on a little bit more about the GIGASWORD dev, but I'll let you go ahead first.
Yeah, so this is at the Akupara booth. This is a Metroidvania that is just super simple on the presentation. You play as a character named Ezra, and you have a big sword. And what's cool about this is it's a Metroidvania where you have this really powerful weapon, but you can stick it in the ground, which then allows you more mobility. This is how you're solving puzzles sometimes. You stick your sword in the ground, then you can jump much higher. You can grab onto ledges. You can crawl through tight spaces.
Did a little bit of that in Panzer Paladin.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I think it's got some Panzer Paladin vibes going on. Yes. So sometimes you have to separate yourself from your sword and you have to climb ladders and stuff to open a door, and then maybe you reunite yourself with your sword. You use your sword as a key. You're inserting your sword into doors and elevator devices so that it moves upward. Sometimes the question is not just how do I defeat the enemies in this room with my sword? It is how do I use my sword and also separate myself from the sword to get through this room as a puzzle. So it's a great mix of combat, great mix of exploration, great mix of puzzle solving as well.
Yeah, Cater Blossom said that she had chatted with the dev for a little while, and that dev was, in her words, more passionate about their game than any other dev she's talked to, basically.
Yeah, I wish I had the chance to play this on the show floor. It's one of those ones where every time I walked by, it was super busy. And I think the energy of the developer and the publisher can sometimes help drive crowds. If someone is just really passionate about their game, people not only love playing the game, they love talking to the person making it. Speaking of talking to people making things, I talked to the people at the Buffalo booth multiple times. I went to this booth a few times, DiscoCola. These people were so nice.
They were so sick of you.
No, we had an adventure together. I will get all into it now. So Buffalo is based in Vancouver. They are working on a game called Fresh Tracks. They also have some unannounced projects, and I'm looking forward to those too. I got to talk to Patrick Owens, the experienced director. He's sort of leading this whole thing. I got to talk to Nick, a level designer, and I also got to interview Jaclynn Wong, who is the head of production at Buffalo. Their game, Fresh Tracks, is a roguelike skiing rhythm game, and I'll let Jaclynn say more right now.
I'm with Jaclynn at the Fresh Tracks booth. Jaclynn, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Jaclynn. I am head of production at Buffalo, and I'm super excited to be showing off Fresh Tracks at PAX this year.
Cool. So can you give us the quick pitch of Fresh Tracks?
Absolutely. Fresh Tracks is a non-stop, music-driven adventure game where you are skiing to the beat. It's similar to other music games like Beat Saber or Guitar Hero, except that you're seamlessly flowing from one song to the next on a journey to unlock several different genres of music.
Cool. Awesome. And you were talking to me about how you can unlock things. This is a roguelike, so every run's going to be a little bit different, right?
Totally. So the levels are designed such that you'll be able to collect a few different items along the way. These either help you purchase power-ups or upgrade your equipment. Like you'll be able to do like double air hops, like a double jump and things like that to help make your ski run a bit more successful in a future run.
And as I'm standing here watching these people play, I'm seeing different things on each screen. It's hard to know where to look because there's always something different going on. What has the reaction been like from people at your booth?
It's been overwhelmingly positive, and we're so overwhelmed and like honored to be hearing that kind of feedback. For a few members of our team who've been like designing a few levels now, they've been so close to the game, feeling like, is anyone gonna like this? But no, we've been getting such an awesome amount of feedback from like rhythm players, roguelike lovers. There's really something for everyone in this game. And depending on what kind of music you like, it's kind of all captured here. We've got like 28 original songs, including a level based on Mongolian throat singing.
Whoa!
If that's your jam, we've got it.
It might become my new jam.
Okay.
I imagine it's a good way for people to be introduced to new genres, maybe through the music that you're putting in the game.
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit more about your team, Buffalo?
Yeah, so Buffalo is a studio based out of Vancouver, Canada. We are at a size of about 20 people, but basically it really all started with Patrick Owens, who's beside me here. We started with a proof of concept and continually kind of built this, getting a little bit more funding, being able to grow the team a little bit more at a time. And so now we're at the stage where this is our first game we're going to properly release on Steam later this year. And but we do have a few more projects in the pipe. So we're now at that stage where we're trying to get our first game out and also set new projects up for success.
Okay, great. And then, do you have any plans for being in any showcases or as part of Steam Next Fest or anything like that?
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, we're
Very
actually
excited.
going to be at Steam Next Fest next month.
Awesome. In June.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. I will look out for the demo then.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else you want to say about the booth or your experience at PAX?
This is a first time for me personally, and also a first time for our studio being here. We've been loving every moment of it so far, and hope that anyone listening will come check out Fresh Tracks.
Yes, I know I will. Thank you, Jaclynn, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So Mongolian throat singing, reactions.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. My reaction is so much more content for Press Start to Listen, if nothing else. But
Yeah.
it looks really fun, but it also looks really hard. Like a little bit of thumper sweats coming up on my body right now.
I think that's accurate. So this was the first demo I played on the show floor. And what I appreciated about it is that while it does seem a little overwhelming because you're skiing, you're shifting lanes, you're jumping, crouching, leaning,
I
collecting.
didn't even notice that you're doing crouching and leaning.
Yes. Sometimes a couple of these maneuvers simultaneously. While you're doing all those things, I think the game properly onboards you by associating different levels of movement together in a way that categorizes them in your mind. So you learn about jumping and crouching at the same time because that's very much on the y-axis. You learn about leaning separate from that, and so on. I was talking to the level designer, Nick, about this, and this was something that they went through many iterations on. It took them a long time to figure this out. But the music rocks in this game. It's so good. Every single stage you select is going to have a different genre that is showcased. I got to see the Mongolian throat singing level. It's one of the harder ones.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, Patrick and Nick were going back and forth on playing the hardest levels in the game, and my jaw hit the floor. It was these guys who have played these levels hundreds of times, and they just know what to expect from their game, and they're playing it masterfully, flawlessly. Like when you've seen a master Guitar Hero player.
Oh, yeah.
Or a master Beat Saber player, right? It was awe-inspiring. It was so fun. But the early levels, the demo that I played is quite approachable, and I really look forward to this. It's going to be a Next Fest in June, and I encourage everybody to check this one out if you like fun music and if you like rhythm games. They took my business card too, where I say that I'm a juggler, just as kind of like a fun fact. And Patrick was extremely interested in juggling, and so I actually pulled out some juggling balls.
You had them on you?
I did, yeah. I had TSA-approved juggling balls with me at the convention.
TSA, you specifically went to Amazon and you were like, all right, TSA-approved juggling, but I need to take these to PAX.
That is kind of what happened because juggling equipment is notoriously kind of hard to travel with because a lot of juggling balls are filled with plastic seeds or sometimes millet. And sometimes TSA just thinks you're smuggling drugs, just semi-openly in your luggage.
No, I'm just a clown, man. I'm
not. I'm not a drug addict. I'm not dealing anything. I'm just juggling. So I got balls that aren't filled with stuff. They're called stage balls. So they were, in my mind, TSA approved. So I had them in my backpack. I was juggling for the whole team, for Jaclynn and Patrick. And Patrick, because Fresh Tracks was born from his mind, he's very musical. And he was watching the rhythm of what I was doing, and he was almost like counting out beats to what I was doing too. So that's just how he sees the world.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
I've heard of people like that.
Yeah, it was super fun. They also had lots of cool swag. So they had a postcard that I got here. They wanted to do something different with their swag. They had seen all kinds of different goodies at booths, but they wanted to do something different. They had air fresheners.
Oh, perfect. I hope that's pine scented.
I hope so too. I haven't opened it yet. And then they gave me a pin of one of the deities from the game, like one of the gods
That's
that you're
awesome.
skiing for. So I thought that looked super cool.
That's so dope.
Yeah. And I ended up recommending this booth to other people. I think of all the games that I tried on the show floor, Fresh Tracks was probably my favorite. I didn't get to try a ton of games, but it was really, really fun. DiscoCola, let's talk about Altered Alma. You got to play this.
Yeah, so I didn't even know that it was at PAX. I'm not sure you even knew it was at PAX.
I wasn't aware. I heard people talk about it in my first few days, but I didn't get to play it.
It's one of the ones that Cater Blossom sent to me, and I was like, oh, yeah, I know Altered Alma. I backed this game. So,
amazing.
Disclaimer, I backed Altered Alma in its Kickstarter phase, but
DiscoCola is the reason it was at PAX.
In the collectivist idea that I helped fund a small amount of it, sure, yes. But yeah, it was really fun. The controls feel great. It is such a beautiful game. Like, the pixel art in this game is incredible. And that's exactly what I expected. And yeah, I only got like 2 upgrades or something before I had to put the demo down. But it's another just great Metroidvania platformer so far. And I'm looking forward to the finished product. And I'm going to get out of it what I hoped I would get out of it, I think.
Awesome. I look forward to playing this so much. It seems like there were tons of great Metroidvanias on the show floor this year. They just all look so good.
Here's something I will say that between the 2 demos that I did play, Constance and Altered Alma, I played them on my less than $200 work laptop.
Oh.
And Altered Alma ran perfectly.
Wow.
Constance had some like refresh issues, the screen refresh or whatever.
Yeah.
Not game breaking or anything, but like Altered Alma ran perfectly.
Altered Alma is optimized.
Super.
Optimized Alma. Let's go. So we're talking about the Critical Reflex booth technically here. And just wanted to shout out some other things that were there. There was Buckshot Roulette. I think there was like an in-person sort of more immersive version of Buckshot Roulette, or maybe it was VR. I can't remember exactly, but it was like a different version of Buckshot Roulette. There was Drowned Lake, which I heard great things about. I also heard so many overwhelmingly positive things about Tanuki Pond Summer. This was many people's game of the show. I did not get to play this one. Its demo is not currently on Steam. Maybe, hopefully, sometime soon. But those are just some of the games you could find at Critical Reflex. There's another game I got to try after PAX East. It was one of those demos that's just available on Steam. And this game is out right now. It's for all of those Vampire Survivors likes fans. It is called Desktop Survivors 98. This is another one that was super popular every time I walked by it. Didn't play it on the show floor, but played it on my computer the other night. This is a Survivors like where you move your cursor on screen and whatever you have on your desktop can be the background of the game.
What?
Yes. So you're going through this dungeon. This is where it's kind of different from other Survivors likes. In other Survivors likes, you're in this endless series of waves coming at you, and you have moments where you breathe and where you're not as stressed out, but you're constantly in the combat. In this game, you have sort of a Minesweeper-like map. Everything is inspired by early desktop UI, and you are choosing doors in a dungeon to go through, and some of them will have encounters with enemies that attack you, and you pick up, just like in any Survivors like, weapons that automatically fire, but they're inspired by desktop computers. You can fire solitaire cards. There can be chess pieces that fall from the top of the screen. You can have cursors moving around your cursor that damage enemies that they touch. And this game is so chaotic because you have the freedom to move your cursor as fast as you can. That means you can move faster than arguably any other Survivors like. So to counterbalance that, the enemies that come at you are super freaking fast. So it's kind of a sensory overload because So many things are jumping at you. I was moving my cursor constantly all over the screen anytime I was in a battle. And then I think if you survive 60 seconds, that room is cleared. This game is out as of very recently. It does not cost much on Steam, and I'm looking forward to giving it a shot. I'll talk about the last game that I got to play on the show floor at PAX East, and it was at the Xseed booth. And this is one I waited about 25, 30 minutes to play. And I'm glad I took the time to wait for it because it is called The Big Catch, and it is a 3D platformer where you use a fishing rod to navigate the world. And what I liked about this demo is it was just this open level that was quite big, and it just asked you to walk around and explore and use your fishing rod. You can use your fishing rod to grapple to things, to swing up to high places, but you also use it to catch fish. And when you catch fish, there's this really cinematic moment of reeling it in, and then you catch it. You can do all kinds of maneuvers I didn't expect in this game. You can wall run, and the wall running is automatic. You just run at a wall, and your character will start wall running. It's very much like Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. I got about 12 minutes to play this demo, and they were timing everybody for this one. So once you reached 12 minutes, it was time to be done. But it also kind of has a throwback style. It's not going to look super modern, but that's part of the appeal of The Big Catch. So yeah, you know I love a 3D platformer, so this is high on my list to check out later this year. I think it's to be announced as far as the release date. And lastly, I want to talk about Optillusion. This is the booth of the developer that made Wall Waiting, which I have played and reviewed for this show. So you know about Wall Waiting. I had a great time playing that earlier this year. It's one of my favorite games of 2025, honestly. I don't hear a lot of people give it that much praise, but I really thought that game was special with its comedy and also its very real depictions of big moments in life. So I got to talk to the chief of publishing at Optillusion, Kimmy Li, not only about Wall Waiting, but about Pick Me, their new multiplayer dating sim that has an emphasis on using an AI large language model for how the game responds to you. You and a friend are competing to win this date, and you're saying things to it. It is engaging back with you using AI, which I was a little skeptical about, but Kimmy will go more in depth on this topic here in this interview.
I'm here at the Optillusion booth at PAX East, and who am I speaking with?
You're speaking with Kimmy. So I'm managing partner and the chief of publishing. I mostly work with staff working on marketing strategy, publishing strategy, and working with content creator really to focus on marketing the game.
Yeah, I think I worked with you to get a code for the game, and I really appreciated that opportunity. So thank you very much.
Thank you for enjoying the game.
Yes, absolutely. So can you tell us about the booth that you have at PAX this year?
Yeah, so during the PAX East, we are showing 2 games. Of course, the first one is our loving puzzle adventure, Wall Waiting. We just recently launched on February 5th. And we are also showing our upcoming, very, very interesting PvP, cross-platform AI speed dating game, Pick Me. So this game we have been under development over a year, and this is our second time to show publicly. By collecting the feedback on PAX West, we already progressed the game a lot, and we are starting to receive a lot of positive feedback in how interesting and silly and fun play with their friends. So we are preparing to launch the early access on May 28th.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome. So this is my first time seeing Pick Me. It's a very interesting combination. It's a very interesting concept. How did the team come up with this for an idea for a game?
That's a very good question. I have to say that as an indie developer, there is always challenge about how to grow. After we developed Monk Cage and While Waiting, the first Monk Cage took us 4 years, and While Waiting took us 2.5 years. And it's a lot of work. But as a studio, we also want to establish us as a business, which is sustainable, can grow, and we want to incorporate the emerging technology, which is AI. But we, as an indie developer ourselves, we do not want to replace the human. The human still play the key essential role in the game design. All the art are crafted by our artists, and the game design are designed by our game designer. And we, as a designer, we need to think how we use AI and why we are using AI. Why, if we're using AI, will make the game more fun. So then we designed a 2 players mode, which is you play with your friend. And then the AI suddenly become more sort of like the moderator. Even you are trying to play against each other to win her heart. And from our observation, we see player play side by side, trying to figure out what is the character like. And we also see friends are sabotaging each other because they know your secret. They are not necessary to be nice all the time.
Sure.
So that is kind of our thinking. And in the framework and prompt we are setting up, they always can pop new answers, fresh conversation, make the player feel fresh each time, and can sort of have engagement. And that is kind of like experiences we are providing, which is not necessary. You can provide the same if you are using traditional dialogue trait.
I could see this being very influential to other indie developers who are looking at AI not only from a technology standpoint, but also just as a concept for storytelling and guiding a player. That could be a new area that you see indies explore. And I like how you describe AI as like a middle person in a co-op experience or in a multiplayer experience where it's guiding the experience, but it's not totally ruling over everything. I think that's reassuring in a time when a lot of people are unsure about AI, and maybe people, players and developers, are worried about AI taking the jobs of the important artists. But here you're leaning into how AI is augmenting the experience, not absolutely controlling it. That's really great. Can you talk about how you engage with your community? I know you have a Discord server, so you probably get a lot of engagement there. You get a lot of player ideas and feedback there. Can you talk about how you talk with the community?
That's a very good question, because that's the strategy we're trying to focus and even develop more. Our community is not big, but very cozy. And everybody come here are really like because they love the game. It's because they are interested in the game. There is no like other people in the Discord, so people speak very like open and friendly. And we run this cozy community streaming every Thursday. Sometimes just 10 people, but with our developer, we test our latest build. And you know, there was a moment it's very impressive and touched was that there was one community member, and she said she has to bite her tongue in order to not laugh because she or he is in Europe. It's their midnight. You know, she doesn't want to wake up her roommate.
That's funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah, everybody's from all over. I've taken enough of your time, but I do want to ask you another quick question in case you have an answer to this. Because I played While Waiting so recently, I'm curious if you have a favorite level in While Waiting or a favorite chapter from the game.
Oh my God, that's the hardest question. I think there are so many my favorite level. I think particularly, I feel it's very silly to see Adam waiting for the bathroom, and it's also interesting to see how he wants to run away from the boss when the boss is making presentation.
Yes.
Yeah, and also you know, see him how he play the books in the classroom, trying to kill the time, and it's kind of funny. But the touching moment also is at the ending part. Actually, I'm not sure how many endings you got. There are 2 endings.
There are two endings. I think I only got one of the endings. So I might have to look into getting the other one now. So I love those answers, though. I remembered all those moments. Yeah, I'm seeing the moment in the forest on the screen where you're looking for your underpants and you're playing the Minesweeper game. That was iconic. I love that.
Thank you to get that Easter egg.
Yeah. And I also love how while waiting just goes into some of those tender emotional moments too. It really catches you off guard from time to time. So it's one of my favorite games of the year so far.
So touching. Thank you for saying that. Means a lot for as a developer. I will spread the work to our team.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, thank you for your time today. I appreciate it. Yeah.
I appreciate it.
So that was the last interview I had to share. It was just super cool to talk to somebody from the team that made a game I played so recently. So yeah, I recommend While Waiting to everybody. I'm interested in Pick Me. I would need someone to play with to fully experience it, but it's coming out imminently. By the time this bonus episode is out, you might be able to play it. It's coming out at the end of May 2025. So DiscoCola, that was a summary of our experiences playing demos and talking about PAX East 2025. Any thoughts, any closing parting words from you in what you've observed?
No, I don't think so. I'm interested in what the actual like floor looked like since I wasn't there. Just curious about the atmosphere because I've only been to like one convention ever.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. The one where you met David K?
Yeah, the one where I met David
Amazing.
K.
Cool. I will never forget that. Yeah, so a lot of the indie game booths are small, and they're side by side. So what's awesome is you can go just door to door in a way. I spent the first day just walking around. I didn't actually play any demos the first day, which is probably not the best strategy. The first day on Thursday is one of the least busy days. So if you want to squeeze in quantity, that's when you have to start playing games. But this is my first time at PAX East. I'm walking around with friends. We're taking in the atmosphere. I was there with a core group of friends, and some of them had not been to PAX East either, while others had been. So it was a nice mixture of newbies and veterans. Yeah, walking through, there are the big showpiece booths. There was one for Devolver that was just really, that was a landmark where if you wanted to meet with somebody, often the tendency was to say, okay, meet me at Devolver, or I'm 2 booths down from Devolver. That was like one that was very easy to spot. They've got the big neon sign that with the red letters, Devolver, just like blasting you in the face.
Did you meet Volvi?
I didn't see Volvi there. There was another one that had a very showy booth called Goblin Town Really Hard Driving Game. And this is where someone had, they had this just big truck like from the game recreated in real life. And it was so cool. People were always crowded around this one too. This is a driving, like kind of a 3D platformer from what I understand. A really wild driving game.
It looks like just go fast. Go fast as you can.
Go fast, and it's goofy. This kind of looks like Psychonauts in a way too.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
So yeah, there were those booths that really caught your eye. Elden Ring Night Rain had a big purple dome dominating the show floor too. So that was another landmark. But yeah, it's just, you can check out a map online if you want to see where people were.
How much time did you make for non-indie stuff?
Well, I didn't play any like AAA games, but I did check out things like board games. So that's what I would define as like non-indie stuff that I checked out.
Okay.
So I went over and I saw Dice Throne. I went and walked through the board game section just to see like what could you check out and play with a friend there. They have tons of board games just sitting out ready to play. So I looked through that. I went to lots of panels too. There were those kinds of things. I think one standout panel for me was the speedrunning, intro to speedrunning panel that was hosted by Ash Said Hi, which is a Twitch streamer that I follow and really look up to. And she had a panel of several speedrunners who do their thing on Twitch week in and week out. There was someone who speedruns Super Mario World. There was a guy who speedruns games by playing with his feet.
Oh, I want to be that guy.
It was super interesting. And it was more from the perspective of, hey, this is how you get started with speedrunning. And this is how you define speedrunning. The way they defined speedrunning was actually really inspirational to me because they started by talking about Super Mario Brothers World 1-1, where you see the timer counting down in the corner. Everybody's played that game. Everybody's played that level. And in a way, when you see the time counting down, you're speedrunning. And so you can define speedrunning as just racing a clock. So most gamers have probably done that, and it really opens your mind and it makes you feel a little bit more accepted in the world of speedrunners when you think of it that way. But yeah, I had a great time. I'm looking forward to next year. And I wanted to say some thank yous before we head out today. So I want to thank the core group of friends I was hanging out with and coordinating with as far as our plans. So we had Noms, and I'm going to use their online aliases, but we had Noms and ChipDip18. They were my roommates. Thank you very much, guys, for being amazing roommates. We had Cecily, Kestrel, Cater Blossom, and a specific egg. They were always really fun to hang out with. So that's the core group I was running with. I got to meet tons of other content creators, people who host podcasts, people who do stuff on YouTube here and there. I got to meet CG Danny B from Playlog Podcast, Nick and Will from the Friday Night Gamecast, Matt Stormageddon from the Fun and Games Podcast, Dave Jackson from Tales from the Backloggd, Joseph Hooper from Crossplay Conversations, Adam Gumbert from Respawn Aim Fire, and also Dan O'Mac. And they were all super lovely to talk to. If I missed somebody, I am eternally sorry. It was just so many awesome people in an awesome week. So that is our recap of PAX East 2025 and the end of this bonus episode of Underplayed. You can find more of our episodes at kzum.org/underplayed and on common podcast platforms like Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Our music was composed by Jack Rodenberg. Our art comes from Onimochi. Check out our show notes where you can find and follow us across social media. Underplayed is on Bluesky, Instagram, and Threads. You can also find my links down below, and I stream a variety of indie games on Twitch.
And I am at DiscoCola on many of those platforms as well. And you can catch Underplayed Podcast on Twitch, where we do early premieres of all of our new episodes. I don't know if we're doing that for this one because no one is expecting it.
No, this will just drop.
I think this will just drop.
We'll advertise it, baby.
Yeah, and you can catch us playing our Season 8 co-op game, which you might not know yet. I don't know when this is going to come out in relation.
I don't know the order. We'll see. I'll just get this one edited and pushed out as soon as I can.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
But we know what it is, but you don't. So joke's on you.
Yeah, but you can find us streaming that at twitch.tv/underplayed
Yeah,
podcast.
and that looks like it'll be probably like September or October. So
at some point.
Keep an eye out.
Follow us and you'll know when it happens. Until next time, everyone, keep on playing.